Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the House of Bloodstein, Perlamum, Chapter 16, Return to Bloodstein. In our previous chapter, the gang returns to Cana, has a think tank session with the professor, Magistrate Kylos' husband, a man of great renown, able to find answers to many difficult questions. They give him the whole skinny of what they encountered in Wham, and that one of the playing pieces is located in the ring of dead bodies around Mare. He listened, advised they were wise not to try to fetch the piece because they would undoubtedly be dead right now. And if that were the case, the book is over. Roll credits. He also told them some disturbing things. Basically, he does not believe the tale Lady Crysania Bloodstein presented to them. The whole story that her flesh is not her own, it belongs to the Bergens thanks to a centuries-old pact that was made with the Bergens, is outlandish. The Bloodsteins are Vith. If they were so enslaved to another household, and the Bergens, since they left the League and became Zappins, are not on good terms with the Vith of the League. And if the Bergens did have a knife to one of their kin's throats, that would be a reason to go to war. And that happens occasionally in my books. He mentioned that the Perlamum set that Lady Crysania said was hers is actually Wilhela Corman Grand's Perlamum set. And Wilhela even said that in her temple. She said, that's my Perlamum set. And she's always got it out there dangling, waiting for the foolish to try to come. And she just loves to put the various adventurers and heroes and warlords to the test to see if they can actually get these items and survive. So that piece of Lady Crysania's story is confirmed to be a lie. He advised that they return to Bloodstein and ply her for information. As I said earlier, in the original drafts, this was not present. Lady Crysania's trustworthiness was never called into a question. She was plucky and resourceful, and this tournament actually happened. That's not the case here because as I said, I hated the results. I hated it. It sucked. It was too by the number storytelling, and I do not write things that suck. I do not write by the numbers stories. You might disagree, but there it is. So, let's dig in, shall we? Chapter 16, Return to Bloodstein. Let's see how this shakes out. Boom, boom, boom. Kay's fist hit the giant main door of Castle Bloodstein, making a hollow ruckus in the cold mountain air. Bits of rime jostled loose and drifted down. Eventually the door swung open, and the black-robed servant stood in the doorway. "We are here to see Lady Crysania," Kay said in Vith. "Have you an appointment?" "We do not," Kay replied. Sarah jumped in. "We are the trustees of her alleged current Perlamum tournament, and we insist on seeing her." The servant stood there, silent, blocking the doorway. "Come on," Sarah yelled. "You understand me, I know you do." The servant considered the situation. "A moment, please." He closed the door, and they stood out in the cold courtyard. "What did he say, Kay?" Sam asked, wearing her furry white coat. Though she didn't need it with her medallion, it was mainly to keep the frost off. "He asked us to wait a moment." As they stood in the courtyard, a light snow began to fall. Thomasina had stayed behind at the castle. Introducing her to this situation could be problematic. It was best to keep her out of it for the time being. The servant opened the door again after a few moments. "This way, please." Once again, he led them into the vast interior of the castle, stopping in front of the heavy oaken door. He produced his keys, unlocked the door, and vanished within. "We've seen this vid before," Sarah commented. Sam removed her medallion and sniffed the door. "Kay, I appreciate the professor's authorship, but I am telling you, I smell sickness here." The door opened and the servant reappeared. "Please. My Lady Crysania will see you now." I will ask that you not use and carry with you any light creating... Yes, yes, Kay said. We know all about this. The servant bowed, and they shambled into the dark. They wound their way to the table in the center of the room and seated themselves. Lady Crysania, Sarah shouted. It is we, your trustees. We wish to speak with you at once. There was a shuffling in the dark. Oh, my friends from Blanchford, came a wheezy voice from above. Welcome and well met. I am pleased to see you again. Kay allowed his dark sight to wander into the blackness of the gallery. He saw a slight, near-shoulderless form in a hooded robe standing on the mezzanine. It shambled down a flight of stairs and approached the table. How goes your quest? She asked. I hope you've good news. The quest? It doesn't, Sarah yelled. Pardon? Lady Crysania asked in a small, quizzical voice. Sarah ready to embark on a long rant, but Kay stopped her. My lady, Kay said, I will ask, have you been completely honest with us? The robed form started. I don't understand. We have come to believe that your dramatic story of age-old curses and arcane meddling might be a heroic fabrication. Is this the case? I don't mean to stand here in your home and make these accusations. However, I must. Have you been lying to us, my lady? There was a long silence. I have told you the truth, in select bites. Select bites? Sarah cried, her voice piercing the dark. What in the feature does that mean? We could have been killed in Wham! For you! Kay could see Crysania's tiny form standing there. Hood slightly bowed. Speak up, Sarah yelled, quite angry. She did not like being lied to. Sarah, Kay said, feeling sorry for the poor lady. Give her a moment, please. They sat in the dark for a time, Lady Crysania wheezing slightly. Sam finally spoke up. My lady, you are very sick. I am a monoma, and my senses are rather acute. My nose in particular is very developed. I can smell the sickness on your person. I know there is something the matter with you. So please, you needn't be shy, and you may count on our discretion. We are your friends. There was silence for a time. Very well. I am ashamed for not having been entirely truthful. Why did you lie to us? Sarah demanded. We are Vith. We're not supposed to tell lies. I didn't want to. Truly I didn't. But such is my desperation. I told you as much truth as I could. The whole of it is I'm ashamed of what I am, and fatigued by my sorry lot. I impulsively attempted to enhance my story, to make it sound more heroic than what it is. I suppose that's the Vith in me. But please understand that the heart of my tale, my infirmity, my loneliness, my having fallen in love, all true, all true. That a fact? Sarah said. Crysania responded. Have you a source of light? No, however, I can see perfectly well in the dark, Kay said. As can Philip and I, Sarah said. Lady Crysania sighed. Then please, look at me. They sighted. Lady Crysania's tiny robed form lit up in the spotlight of Sarah and Philip's sight, the silver and blue beams mixing together to form a rather grayish color, with Lady Crysania meekly basking beneath it. She was hooded and terribly thin. Bits of pale flesh peeked out through the coarse fabric here and there. She reached up and pulled back her hood. Even the inflappable Sarah had to gasp. Lady Crysania Bloodstein had no features. She had no mouth, no nose, no hair, no eyes or ears. Nothing. She appeared smooth and blank, like a vaguely human mannequin. She also had no hands, just smooth, rounded-off stumps at her wrists. Tubes were inserted into her arms, trailing off to dripping bags slung at her back that supplied her with nourishment. Other tubes pumped metabolized oxygen into her body. A gangly metallic device hung around her neck, suspended just below her chin. "And so you see," she said through her device, "I am a monster." She put the stumps of her arms up to her blank face and trembled in hitching spasms, as if she were sobbing, though she had no eyes with which to shed tears, and no hands to catch them. "Gods, I'm a monster!" Kay and Sam rose from their seats and went to her. Kay wanted to touch the poor woman and offer comfort, but where could he? She seemed so frail. He lightly patted her on the shoulder. She reacted to his touch. "Though I am blind and a death monstrosity, I can still feel. If you would demonstrate your courage, Lord Blanchford, embrace me as one elder does for another, I would be in your debt." Kay came around and embraced Lady Crysania. Handless, she returned it. "We offered our service for you, in the service of a lie. We are here with you, my lady, and we wish to help. But first, you must be completely honest with us and withhold nothing. We are your kin, and there is no need to embellish or feel modest. Give us the truth, and we are yours. Take as long as you need. We're listening." Kay and Sam seated themselves next to Lady Crysania. Slowly, she composed herself and began speaking through her device. "I am Lady Crysania, 17th child of Bloodstein, and of Bergen as well. What I tell you now has never passed outside of the house of Bloodstein. My father, Morrow, years ago lay in cuckold with Stixa of Bergen. They met at a Endurocon ball in Falls. Stixa was there incognito with a group of her friends. I am told it's a Zaffin fad to sneak into league social events such as balls and cotillions and see if they can avoid detection. Stixa was exotic, like a shadow amongst the light, and the color of the ball, wild and untamed, and my father was captivated by her. They stole off into the gardens to be alone, and I was the result. I suppose he loved her, he says he did, and I choose to believe him. Hence, I am half Bergen, and I carry half of all that troubles them as well. Additionally, I am the twin sister of Rothaba of George. She also came of that night in the garden." She paused. A respirator strapped to her back labored to furnish her noseless, mouthless body with oxygen. "I dream of her often. I sleep, and there is Rothaba with me in the dark, saying nice things, trying to comfort me. We are mirror images of each other. Both Rothaba and I were born sick and infirm, victims of the Bergen's age-old genetic malady. I am told that my stepmother, Vaedra, was angered by my father's infidelity and placed a curse upon us. I cannot ask her to verify that or not, as she died when I was a child. In any case, my sister and I were both born very ill. I came to Bloodstein to live with my father in the city of legend, and Rothaba went to the court of George in Zaffin space as a broodling, a girl in their care who didn't officially exist, as she was half-league. As a little girl in my gilded crib, my body was found by the Hospitallers to be rotting steadily. The malady started in my hands and quickly spread to my face and my legs, and the situation wasn't much better for my twin sister. Far away in the court of George, she too was rotting. Both of us began life sentenced to death. My father paid a high ransom to the Hospitallers and the Science Ministry to discover me a cure, and in George, Zaffin Kabbalists were brought in to attend to my sister. The issue, as they determined it, was a defect in our basic genetic code brought on by our Bergen heritage. The Bergen's taste for human flesh had cursed us both from the moment of conception, and there was no fixing it for long. The matter was beyond the Hospitallers and the Kabbalists, and the two of us rotted. First my hands, then my feet, followed by a massive infection in my eyes that also took my ears. The Hospitallers did so much as declare me dead. Rothiba was met with a similar pronouncement. They sat silently as she allowed the machines breathing for her to catch up. My father eventually discovered a healer who could help us, a mysterious woman on the fringes of the League, whom he had heard traveled about doing good works, and I was taken to her. Though my sight was nearly gone, I remember seeing her for the first time as she crossed the Maxim River on Bloodstein, standing there in a small boat, her cloak held shut up to the base of her nose, hiding her face. I remember her eyes burning red in broad daylight. I was terrified as she approached, but what was I to do? The red-eyed healer laid her hands upon my flesh and lifted away the sickness, rather like peeling an orange, leaving behind smooth, blank flesh. She anointed me with cool water and went to work. It was a strange sensation, like the touch of a mother's hand. It was amazing. Hands were very bad. She lifted them away, and then my eyes, and then my ears and nose, leaving me with a perfectly blank face. And washing me, touching my face with her hands, she replaced what she took with perfect living parts. New eyes, new ears, new nose, new hands. I was whole again. Can you imagine? From the smothering confines of my rotten body to the fresh sunshine of a new day, awash in color. Where did these parts come from? Philip asked. She said they were grown in her personal laboratory. I didn't check her story. I was a whole woman again. She paused a moment to catch her breath. She raised her arms, revealing her stumps. But it didn't last. The defect is in my genes, and it always comes back. It tainted my new parts, and soon they began to rot. I sought help from the red-eyed healer again, but this time she refused to help me. She became sinister and demanding. She wanted things, favors, control of the Bloodstein seat in the ex-commons, control of our assets and safe refuge at a moment's notice for her and her troop. Refuse, and she would leave me as is, a blank. They let her recover a moment. How then does the Perlamum tournament fit into this? Sarah asked. I must admit, I became a bit obsessed with my half-sister Rothiba. I suppose I wanted her to be suffering just as I am. It comforted me knowing that she was. She often comes to me in my dreams, beautiful and golden-haired. In my dreams, we love each other, as sisters should. She listens to my woes. In dreams, she told me of a powerful black cat who has the power to hear and grant wishes. She told me that she herself knows this black cat and is seeking to curry favor with her, to have her health and beauty restored. Were she to be healthy and beautiful again, and I still here in the dark, that would have driven me mad. She paused. What does that make me, I wonder? I've always thought of myself as a good and charitable person, but there must be a taint of evil in me to feel such things. I am ashamed of that. I spent my days and nights spying on Rothiba and searching for this black hat, searching for the truth of it. Sarah cupped her palm to her face and shook her head. Creation, let me guess. The black hat you were searching for is Wilhela Corman Grant, right? Am I right? Yes. She is very old, possibly one of the oldest black hats of all. I discovered before she relocated to Wham and commenced her current outrageous lifestyle that she served as an enchantress in the court of Queen Gome of Trimble and performed her terrible bidding. She was said to grant wishes to those who pleased her. And in modern times, she will take select individuals to the top of the universe and grant them whatever they wish. There is recorded proof of her doing this. But those seeking to be granted a wish must present Wilhela Corman Grand her Perlamum pieces, the pieces once belonging to her former master, Queen Gome, which she keeps hidden throughout the League and Zaffin space at all times, and makes their recovery nigh impossible.
She wheezed.
Myself and my sister want the same thing, and I suppose we both tell shameless lies to get it.
Lady Crysania's machines broke the silence with muted mechanical pumping.
But I didn't tell you all lies, she said. I am studying under an alias. I did meet a fellow student via correspondence, as I mentioned previously. All of that is true. I allowed myself to sit here in my gallery and fall in love again, and dream the dreams a normal woman might. As I said before, though my body is rotted and my face blank, I'm afraid my heart still works quite well.
She wheezed and paused. Food was brought in by the servant, and they refreshed themselves. Lady Crysania sat there in the dark as they ate. Having no mouth, she was fed through tubes.
At the top of the universe, anything is possible. I can have my health. I can have the man I love. I am so terribly lonely. The graves I've stood over, the lost love soon departed while I lived, always being afraid. So I sought brave souls to endanger themselves for no other reason than to restore me my health. Could I have been reduced so? Could I be so selfish? If I had the pieces, I could request Wilhela Corman Grant to remove the taint in my genes, and then I may be made whole again without fear of it returning.
She was silent for a moment, her machines throbbing and hissing.
So there you have it, not quite so noble as before. Were you to excuse yourselves and walk away for my previous deception, I would understand.
And this is the truth? All of it? Kay asked.
Yes, I swear it.
Did you hire out those losers from the south, the Wonderlucks? Sarah asked. Crysania nodded.
I did, some time ago. I heard they were successful treasure seekers and had all sorts of arcane devices at their disposal, including the wondrous arcane device Oberphiliax of the House of Want. They claim to have it in their possession.
That's bull, Sarah cried. Anticipating Sarah spilling the beans, Sam gave her a good, swift kick to the shins. Lady Crysania continued.
Indeed, I was desperate and entered into a Gelidus pact with them.
That got Kay's full attention. A Gelidus pact is very binding. What did you put up as a reward should the Wonderlucks be successful?
The deed to Castle Bloodstein. That's what they wanted.
You should not have done that, Kay said. A Remnath house taking over a traditional Vith holding in the heart of Vithland would cause an uproar.
I know. As I said, I was desperate. I do not believe the Wonderlucks will be successful. I now believe their credentials were somewhat overinflated, and they have been a general disappointment, but are unwilling to disengage. I cannot say a word to them. They simply will not go away.
Kay spoke. We shall confer. Rest assured, if you have told us the truth, then we are still in your service. You will have our sword. And with that, we conclude Chapter 16, Return to Bloodstein. As we see, Lady Crysania is a horrid blank. I guess that's a fear I have, a deep-seated fear to be entombed, senseless in your own body. As a good Catholic kid, I went to CCD, the Sunday school, and I remember I was like in 3rd or 4th grade. We had to write a report on eternal damnation, and what we thought hell would be like. I was 3rd grader writing a report on eternal damnation, but that's the Catholics. And I remember my impressions of hell to be tortured eternally wasn't, a lake of fire or anything like that. It was to be entombed in a sea of stone, completely encased in stone, with not able to move, not able to hear, not able to see anything, to take a breath, just to be entombed in crushing stone for eternity. That was about as horrible as I can imagine anything ever being. And just the thought of it today still gives me the willies. And so when I came up with this character, I thought, how horrible would that be to be alive but not be able to see, hear, take a breath, anything? That couldn't get much worse than that. And so I came up with this configuration here, and to me it's deeply troubling and disturbing. I don't know if it comes across that way, but yeah, I find that incredibly creepy. She says that she is actually the half-sister of Rothuba of George, and that they both have the same problem, and that if they can get a hold of Wilhela Cormoran's playing pieces, she will grant them a wish, and her wish is to be relieved of her genetic malady. This healer that she talks about, this red-eyed healer who can like peel away her diseased tissues and leaving a perfectly blank spot, is going to start coming up more and more in this story into the next book that follows this one, this healing process. And I got it initially when I was a kid. I had a $1 Million Man action figure, with the jumpsuit, and he had the little crankable bionic arm. He had like a car engine that you could like hoist up. Well, his main baddie was Maskatron, a robot who was also bionic. I guess that kind of goes hand in hand, but Maskatron, you could like change Maskatron's face. You could change it from Maskatron to Steve Austin's boss, Oscar Goldman, and then back to Steve Austin again, and back to Maskatron again. And then, that image always stayed with me, just these different faces you could put on Maskatron. And that's kind of where I got this idea of, having a blank face and just kind of swapping body parts like it's no big deal. And as I said, that's going to become more and more intrinsic to this story and the next one, especially as we continue forward. Next week, we continue with the story, Chapter 17, Rundlefarge, where the gang returns to Castle Blanchford and once again consults with the professor on how to proceed. And we will look forward to that next week. In the meantime, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.